I started this restaurant in October 2013. You know, I had this whole concept of building a restaurant that had a vision that was, new style Chinese food that I wanted to cook. My original vision was just to be like a really cool, funky spot to, have like heaps of cocktails, really cheap food, loud music, heaps of young people. It's weird because it kind of carried itself off into like quite a serious restaurant. I still use a lot of kind of flavor memories that I grew up from the food I grew up eating to kind of base what I like and the food that we do here. As a child, grew up in a household where mum was really like, my mother is a fantastic cook, so yeah, never had a really bad meal. I like the idea of just being really creative, and chefs have always seemed like they could just really do whatever they wanted, like within their own kind of style of cooking, and it's kind of a career that is creatively with you your whole life. I did train with a lot of serious guys in Sydney, and they taught me a lot because it's, as much as it is creative, it's also very technical, and you get these skills through repetition, and you need to work in places that are, they're very demanding, but they give you a lot. As an apprentice, you just, you had to do your hours basically, like hours of peeling carrots, cutting onions, all the really basic menial tasks where, like as a chef now, you look at it and you go, oh yeah, you can do that quite easily because you've done, it's a bit of a mind game. It's like, if I gave, a young chef these days like a box of artichokes, and they just sit there and they just prep that for 3 hours. But I know I can do one in, an hour, for example, because you've done it so many times that you just play that same race in your head again and again. I was classically trained, so, a lot of French basics, modern European techniques. But I used to eat Chinese food like on my day off all the time, and I thought it was weird that you'd eat one thing but cook another thing. So I went on this kind of transition to learn how to cook Chinese food and kind of transfer all these flavor memories from when I was a kid into something that I'd cook and see, develop a style through that. And I really enjoyed it. So I thought, it's a pretty cool story. It's a cooler story to say, oh, these are the dishes that I grew up eating, and this is my version of them, instead of going, oh, this is just like, I don't know, another cauliflower puree with a seared scallop like every other restaurant. You know what I mean? Yeah, this one's tiny. This is why I love Lee Ho Fook, because when I worked at Mark, that was really small, really dynamic. All the guys we all worked really close together. Everyone started and closed and finished together, just like here. So that was like, if I thought to myself, if I was going to open my first restaurant, I wanted it to be, like a reflection of the happiest kind of times in my career. I really like working at Mark a lot because the team, we were all really young chefs. Everyone was really motivated, like really competitive, and the environment that we were working in was, it was the best restaurant in Australia at the time. This is my first head chef and first business owner role. No one tells you how hard it is until you do it. Yeah, the first 6 months couldn't leave this place. I was just so paranoid of of failure, of not doing anything right, because I didn't have a previous experience of being a head chef. So like managing people, managing the food, driving the concept forward, and then on top of that being a business owner, being responsible of the profitability, the margins, all of that. The situations where it can be so hard, because you've never kind of encountered that much stress or that kind of problem. When you have a team of 3-4 chefs and one guy quits, it's like 25% of your workforce done. And then the next week, one of your waiters says, "Oh, chef, I don't want to work for you anymore." You're like, man, I've got to find a new chef and a new waiter, and on top of that, cook and figure out what's going on. So these are times when I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. You know, initially the stress is crazy, and then once you get used to it, you kind of crave that level of stress again. That's why like chefs open second restaurants and third restaurants, because it's like, I'm convinced we all kind of need to wake up with a certain level of stress. Otherwise, I don't know, we'd probably just be so bored, you know. Yeah, I speak to like Shannon Bennett, I'm like, man, how do you do it? You know, like 11 restaurants and this huge resort getting built. He's like, I don't know, I just like to wake up stressed in the morning, like, and I get it, because now it's like, you know, Lee Ho Fook is doing really well, and you know, we're moving into the city, so that's my kind of next, you know, exciting move, and that's going to probably stress me out. It's like, you know, I love the idea of nurturing talent and people, you know, looking back at their time at Lee Ho Fook, like the way I look back at my time at different restaurants and go, man, that was cool, hey, I really had fun working there. And I think nurturing talents is like one of the biggest things that drives me to operate a business, you know, because, you know, you could show people how cool you are and how cool your food is and, you know, how awesome your restaurant is in like maybe 5 minutes, but you can develop, you know, people's talents, you know, bring all these awesome attributes out of them and, you know, just see them succeed, and that you can spend your whole life doing that and you're never bored, you know what I mean? So I really like the idea. Man, I can't wait to see these guys open their own businesses, be a head chef, you know, just be in positions where they'd go, you know what, I learned heaps working with Victor, not just, oh, you know, he was just a dickhead, I hated that guy. It's the hard work of the team, it's not just, you know, me, and it kind of shows that, well, yeah, we've actually built this restaurant that's pretty serious and really well recognized, so it's pretty cool. We get to do really cool shit, like all the time. Like you have no idea until you realize you're like, oh, you know, you can drink like, you know, really rare wines, work with really expensive ingredients, or, you know, meet really cool people, and you can do that because, you know, you're a chef.